The 10 most unbelievable human settlements in the world. Outside, it's minus 40 degrees, yet inside, you can still enjoy a hot pot. This is only number 9. The top spot is at an altitude of 1,800 meters, and its owner is a 90-year-old man. On this planet, beyond the skyscrapers, pavilions, and temples, there exists a collection of absurd and mysterious human dwellings you've certainly never seen. From the Korowai people who live in tree houses 30 meters off the ground, challenging life and death with every trip to the bathroom, to Japan's Miyakejima Island, which can experience 21 earthquakes in a single day and where going outside without a gas mask is a death sentence. There's even the Kowloon-walled city, once Asia's densest slum, located just 2 kilometers from Hong Kong's most expensive Victoria Harbor, with secret passages so cramped that even rats would find them crowded. The places these people live truly showcase their unique ingenuity and resilience. In this episode, join us as we explore the world's 10 most incredible human settlements, each one more jaw-dropping than the last. We look forward to your subscription and likes. Number 10. The mysterious tree houses. Have you ever seen a house built atop a tree? This seemingly unbelievable scene is in fact real. It is the home of the Korowai people. Viewed from the air, the entire tree house stands over 30 meters from the ground, equivalent to a 10-story building. All of its weight is supported by just a few slender wooden poles. The only way to get home is by climbing a long wooden ladder. With no modern tools, a single misstep could lead to a fatal fall. The interior of the house is also extremely basic, with no furniture, no appliances, and not even proper bed. If you work yourself to exhaustion all day only to come home to a place like this, you might feel your world was collapsing. But the Korowai people don't see it that way. Living in trees is a tradition that has been passed down through generations for hundreds of years. The Korowai live in the rainforests of eastern Indonesia, with a tribal population of only about 4,000. They lived in complete isolation until they were first discovered by the outside world in the 1970s, making them primitive people in the truest sense. Hundreds of years ago, the Korowai population was larger and divided into various tribes. However, these tribes often engaged in fierce conflict. It's rumored they were one of the earliest cannibalistic tribes, and their methods of warfare were incredibly cruel. To escape the fighting, some began building their homes in the trees. Over time, the houses were built higher and higher, and tree living became a permanent custom. Many might think these tree houses are flimsy and wonder what would happen if the structure gave way. But after witnessing the Korowai building process, you'd think differently. First, they climb a long ladder into the tree, then haul up timber piece by piece, entirely by hand without any tools. The wood is carefully selected. They must use the strongest ironwood from the rainforest, as no other timber meets their standards. After hoisting the wood, they bind it firmly with ropes to create the basic frame. Finally, they venture deep into the jungle to collect the most beautiful leaves for the roof. With a few simple decorations, a tree house is complete. This home not only provides shelter from the elements, but also embodies the Korowai's love for life. Despite the rapid development of modern society, they hold fast to their ancient traditions. It's as if time has stood still for them. For those of us accustomed to reinforced concrete and city living, doesn't the idea of experiencing a life in the trees? Number 9, the Eskimo Igloo. The igloos you see here aren't tourist attractions. They're the real homes of the Eskimo people. There's no furniture, no heating, and not even a comfortable bed. Just watching the video, one can imagine how bone-chillingly cold it must be inside. Yet, the Eskimo people, also known as the Inuit, have lived here for hundreds of years. But why? They typically reside in the extremely cold regions of northern Canada, where the average temperature hovers around minus 40 degrees, far beyond the limits of human endurance. Despite this, they can be seen sitting bare-chested in the wind and snow, seemingly unafraid of the cold. This is largely due to their lifestyle. They are hunters who eat raw meat, which provides not only rich protein, but also a constant source of energy to fend off the cold. Of course, even more crucial are the igloos themselves. Don't be fooled by their icy appearance. The temperature inside is actually quite comfortable. Look, they can even enjoy a hot pot inside. This is because igloos are not made of ice, but of compacted snow, which contains tiny air pockets that act as excellent insulation. The dome shape helps distribute heat evenly, maintaining a stable indoor temperature. The Eskimo people love living in their igloos. As their fire grows stronger, the interior gets warmer. Getting a good night's sleep in such conditions is an absolute pleasure. So, don't worry about them being cold. They're quite comfortable. Number 8. Japan's Miyakejima Island. Imagine a place that can have 21 earthquakes in a day, where toxic gas blankets the island, and where you must always wear a gas mask to go outside. In such a toxic place, people still live. This is Japan's notorious Miyakejima Island, known as the most dangerous place in the country. Located about 180 kilometers south of Tokyo, the island is home to 2 active volcanoes that are in a near-constant state of potential eruption. The most severe event occurred in 2000 when one of the volcanoes erupted without warning. The sky turned red, and volcanic mud covered everything. The sulfur dioxide released by the eruption became a deadly gas. Heavier than air, prolonged exposure can cause suffocation and even total organ failure. At the time, conditions on the island were uninhabitable, and its more than 3,000 residents were forced to evacuate overnight. But strangely, 5 years later, they miraculously returned and have remained ever since. Are they not afraid of the eruptions or the toxic gas? It's not that they aren't afraid. As ordinary people, they have a profound attachment to their homeland and would rather risk their lives than abandon it. To survive here, this community is truly risking everything. Whenever the gas levels on the island exceed the safe range, loud alarms blare. The locals quickly don their gas masks and avoid going outdoors. This is a common occurrence, and something the residents have grown accustomed to. Some people even dare to go shopping, study, and date while wearing gas masks. A group of people solemnly take their vows in a church, all wearing gas masks. At this moment, their love has transcended life and death. As for the frequent earthquakes, the locals say they have long since learned how to survive them. Small earthquakes are nothing to fear. Only when a major earthquake strikes do they flee. All one can say is that they are incredibly bold. Number 7. The village closest to heaven. This is the highest village in the world, known as the place closest to heaven. It is Tuwa Village, located in Nagaras County, Shannon, Tibet. This small village, at an altitude of 5,070 meters, is next to a sacred lake and surrounded by snow-capped mountains. It boasts extreme beauty, but is also one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. Due to the high altitude, the oxygen level is only half that of other places. First-time visitors often experience altitude sickness and even risk suffocation. The average annual temperature is below zero, with extreme temperature differences between day and night. The sun can burn your skin, and without it, the cold can numb your bones. Most plants cannot survive here. Only yaks and sheep have become the locals' lifeline. The 40-some households in the village have to band together to survive the extreme environment. There is no class distinction here. All the villagers' yaks and sheep are herded together. Every day, different people are assigned to graze the animals. At the right time, they are sold for money. The average life expectancy in the village is only 40 years, the shortest in the world. It's common for children to watch their parents pass away in their prime. The pain of this separation is likely more heart-wrenching than the hardship of the environment. For years, the local government has tried to relocate the village to provide a more suitable living environment. But the villagers have always refused. Although the environment is harsh, pushing human limits, their love for this land is deep. At the foot of the snow-capped mountains, by the sacred lake, they live a life of working at sunrise and resting at sunset. In 100 years, they will still be the bravest guardians of this land. Number 6. The floating slum. What we see before us is a floating toilet where the locals relieve themselves. Right below it, a young boy casually enters the water. As the sewage submerges his body, you, watching the screen, have probably gasped. It's as if we can smell the sour stench of the river through the screen. This is just the tip of the iceberg for this floating village. This village, built on sewage, is the infamous Makoko slum in Nigeria, Africa. The dark, foul-smelling river water is so bad that even scavengers couldn't survive here. Even creatures from India's Ganges River would turn and flee. But this is home to millions of people. They dispose of their excrement and household waste directly into the river. Over time, the river has turned an unbearable black. Its smell is indescribable. Every extra second of smelling it is torture. The young man on screen is a resident of this village, showing his friends his home. A cramped house, dirty walls, and overcrowded conditions everywhere. The only decent thing is probably the television. Most people would shake their heads at these living conditions. But this is considered one of the better homes in the village. One can only imagine the dire straits others live in. Some might ask why they don't build their village on land. The answer is simple. They have no money. In Nigeria, the wealth gap is an insurmountable chasm. The poor don't even have a chance at a decent life. Every day, they open their doors to this filthy, stinking ditch. To get a cup of clean water, they have to pay a high price. Number 5. Hong Kong's Kowloon Walled City. If you thought Nigeria's floating slum was tragic enough, Kowloon Walled City in Hong Kong might change your perspective. This magical place, repeatedly featured on the big screen and even in Japanese anime, is far less legendary than we imagine. Kowloon Walled City is less than 2 kilometers from the world-renowned Victoria Harbor. But unlike the prosperity of Victoria Harbor, Kowloon Walled City was a completely different world. This tiny area of only 26,700 square meters housed over 50,000 people, a population density that would make even India shake its head. Wires were tangled everywhere in the buildings, with no quality of life to speak of. The narrow alleys were a labyrinth, and the houses were packed so tightly that no light could get in. It was dark even during the day. Outsiders would definitely get lost. What's more unbearable is the squalid environment. There was no sewage system and only 2 public toilets. People often relieved themselves in the streets. Wastewater was poured directly onto the streets, making the entire city reek. Snakes, insects, rats, and ants were commonplace. The biggest threat to the residents' survival was the various bacterial diseases caused by environmental pollution. This was once Hong Kong's most lawless and bottomless 3 no-go zone. Many special groups fought here, seriously threatening the safety of the residents. But even so, the people here never thought of leaving. It wasn't because they loved the place so much, but because they had no choice. Due to historical issues, Kowloon Walled City was once left on the fringes of Hong Kong. There were no police, no laws. Many marginalized people gathered here. The cost of living was only 1/10 of the outside. To put it bluntly, many people didn't even need a room. They could sleep on the ground. But one can imagine the problems that would breed in an environment with no sunlight, no laws, and no social order. It wasn't until 1987 that Hong Kong finally decided to demolish this city of sin. The story of Kowloon Walled City finally came to a close. Its fall also signified the gradual departure of Hong Kong's dark and chaotic past, heralding the beginning of a new era. Number 4. The Afghan Cave Village. Can you believe it? This steep cliff face is the new home this Afghan family has found. There are no basic living facilities, not even a guarantee of safety. They simply pushed aside the surrounding boulders and decided to live here. You might think this family is an exception, but in Afghanistan, people living in cliff caves like them are everywhere. These people generally have no jobs and no savings. They can't afford houses and worry about wild animals, so they are forced to live on the cliffs. Simply living here exposed to the elements is not an option. This family has to make some adjustments. They spread a sheet on the ground and bring up all their pots and pans. Arriving late is the man of the house, carrying a large quilt on his back, climbing up the steep cliff. The path up the mountain is very difficult, with some parts only allowing one person to pass. He has to push the quilt through bit by bit. With great effort, he finally makes it through the cave. One can imagine how troublesome their future travels will be. Behind him is a woman carrying firewood. It's left over from before, and they couldn't bear to throw it away, planning to carry it up the cliff to use. However, getting this bundle of firewood up the cliff is not so easy. She uses her hands and feet to climb slowly. One misstep and she would fall. She climbs halfway up the mountain, and a man quickly comes to help, taking the firewood from her hands. It takes another effort to pull her up. After reaching their spot, they quickly start a fire to cook. At this moment, the children are about to faint from hunger. The next scene is a bit crude, yet heartwarming. The women are cooking on the ground, while the children play happily beside them, building houses with stones. But the nights are tough. The cold wind blows, and every moment is an ordeal. They light a fire, wrap themselves tightly in their quilts, and sleep. When the sun rises the next day, they must start another day of labor. The thought that this cliff will be the place where their family will live together is heartbreaking. The only fortunate thing is that they can still be with each other. Number 3. The radioactive building. In Taiwan, this building is more terrifying than a haunted house because there are no ghosts inside, but there's a lot of radiation seriously threatening the safety of the 1,699 households living there. To save their lives, they constantly modified their room layouts and even hired feng shui masters, but to no avail. The whole incident is considered the biggest mystery in Taiwan's architectural history. This is the once sensational Minxing Villa in Taiwan. Can you imagine? The daily radiation in this ordinary residential building could reach 500 microsieverts, with a cumulative radiation of over 1.5 million microsieverts. A normal person can only withstand 1,000 microsieverts of nuclear radiation per year. The radiation released in this building could reach a person's annual limit in just 2 days. This is no longer a residence. It's a petri dish for cancer cells. Living here is simply gambling with your life. But even so, the local residents did not move out immediately. The reason was they thought it was impossible. After all, it was just an ordinary residential building. Afterwards, the residents invited countless people to conduct tests, and the relevant departments also began to investigate. But the results were just as unsatisfactory. No matter how they checked, the radiation in this building was severely over the limit. It wasn't near a nuclear test site, and there was no nuclear pollution. So why did this happen? After an investigation by relevant personnel, it was discovered that the steel bars used to construct the building had been contaminated with the radioactive substance cobalt-60. And this news was concealed by the relevant departments for 8 years. It was only later, due to infighting within the government, that someone disclosed it. Once the news broke, it caused an uproar around the world. This was both a public welfare issue and an exposure of the corruption within certain high-level circles. Thousands of families lived in houses full of... Number 2. The Sky Lodge. Would you dare to stay in a hotel built on the edge of a cliff? It is said that one night here costs several hundred US, and during the peak tourist season, it can be as high as 1,000 US. This is literally paying to gamble with your life. But this has not stopped tourists from all over the world. They flock here, spending large sums of money just to experience the scenery for a day. This is the world's most thrilling sky hotel, located on the cliffs of a valley in Peru. The entire hotel is built in mid-air, more than 400 meters above the ground. It looks like 3 transparent capsules. From inside, the outside scenery is unobstructed. But from the outside, this hotel obviously looks a bit dangerous. It seems like it could fall at any moment. Staying here definitely requires courage. Although these capsules look small, they're actually about 2.7 meters long and 2.3 meters wide and can accommodate 8 people at the same time. The entire capsule is made of aerospace-grade aluminum, with a sturdy structure that can effectively handle the conditions in the valley. The interior space of a capsule is reasonably designed, with comfortable beds, a dining area, and a private bathroom. Standing inside the capsule, you can enjoy a 360-degree view of the surrounding scenery. You can also chat with your family under the night sky. The beautiful scenery that cannot be experienced on land can all be realized here. If that's the case, are you tempted to? However, getting to this hotel is not that easy. You must have specific rock climbing skills and go through a series of dangerous zip lines. Even if you have money, you may not be able to stay here. The climbing process alone is enough to make people's hearts pound. And even after checking in, there are still many problems. Number 1, the house on the mountain. On the summit of the mountains in Zhejiang County, Guizhou, China, there is a hidden, mysterious cabin. The altitude here is over 1,800 meters, surrounded by deep forests and steep canyons. Even scientific research teams do not venture here easily. But this cabin has been standing here for decades. What's even more incredible is that the resident is not some expedition team, but an old man nearly 90 years old. He has lived here for a full 30 years, with no company and undiscovered. How on earth did he survive? This enthusiastic netizen is hiking to the mountain's peak, planning to visit the reclusive old man. From his video, you can see there are no main roads, only treacherous mountain paths. It takes time and skill even for a young person to climb up. It's hard to imagine how this old man gets around. After climbing steep slopes and walking along mountain trails, the netizen is exhausted. He pushes himself to keep going and finally reaches the mysterious house. To his surprise, the house that looks so tiny from the air is as spacious as a courtyard. The entire structure is built of stone and looks exceptionally sturdy. One can imagine the effort the old man put into building it. Interestingly, when the netizen went inside, he discovered it was actually a temple. Although it has fallen into disrepair from the wind and rain, you can still see its former glory. The guardian here is a 90-year-old grandfather. According to him, he has been on the mountain for over 30 years. His children have repeatedly asked him to come down and enjoy his later years, but he has firmly refused. He doesn't like living in the concrete jungle of the city. He loves the deep mountains and this temple. He wants to guard it forever. Many might wonder how he manages to live so far from civilization. It turns out the old man goes down the mountain every half month to buy supplies. There is electricity, but he rarely uses it. He drinks mountain spring water and eats vegetables he grows himself. He has no social life and no contact with the internet. Yet he is surprisingly peaceful and at ease. Seeing the old man's contented smile, the netizen can't help but feel emotional. Perhaps only by getting away from the hustle and bustle of the city can we find our true spiritual home. The old man has lived on this mountain peak for decades, enduring a loneliness unimaginable to ordinary people. Just the lack of a phone signal would be unbearable for most young people. Of these 10 most unbelievable